Welcome back to Season 3 of How to Smash the Motherhood Penalty. This podcast is brought to you 100% by Works for Everyone, which is my business, Emma McLean. We are a professional development company that partners with New Zealand corporates to help them retain and grow their working parent talent. And we are so delighted to do that through leadership programs, executive coaching, and systemic change initiatives like this podcast and the New Zealand Part-Time Power List. So welcome aboard and thank you for listening. I have been loving talking to all the listeners who have reached out about how much they enjoyed Season 2, Making Space for Dads. And in this season, we're going to continue to mix it up. We've got some fantastic interviews coming up, all having the motherhood penalty at its heart, because we still need to talk about this. If you have enjoyed the podcast, please make sure you subscribe to it. Subscriptions don't cost anything, but it just means that you'll be the very first to know about the new episode that comes out. And if you are interested in more working parent content, come and follow me on Instagram, Works for Everyone. I often post working parent hints and tips and also video clips of these interviews. But enough about me. Back to my guests. See you soon. Welcome back. I'm your friend Emma, and today I am delighted to have Kimberlee Sweeney, CEO of Degrees of Separation and co-founder of ADSI, which stands for Aotearoa Divorce and Separation Institute. That's right, people. We're going to talk divorce today on how to smash the motherhood penalty. Kimberlee is the only person you want to talk to when it comes to divorce coaching in this country. She is a real pioneer of divorce coaching in New Zealand. She has been doing it since 2015. She was the first certified divorce and co-parenting coach in New Zealand. She's got so many certifications. I'm not even going to read them out. She's had more certifications than I've had hot dinners. But suffice to say, she takes her professional development very seriously, and it is a incredibly important and sensitive role. So she makes sure she is always upskilled and has all the right certifications, trained in collaborative resolution practices, relationship coaching, career coaching, and she's also Gottman trained in relationship coaching, which we know Gottman is very good in relationship counselling. And she's done this because she wants to offer a full wraparound support service for her clients in all divorce and co-parenting situations. Kimberlee's going to introduce herself because she does a much better job at it than I would. So I would just like to say, welcome, Kimberlee. Please feel free to introduce yourself and add to that in any way you would like.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you for that very generous introduction. And I think you did a very good job at covering off most of my things. But yeah, I certified after my own divorce and realized that people needed help in this area. And then once I became a divorce coach and started working in that capacity, I recognized the need for many people like myself when I was in that should I stay or should I go phase of being in the marriage still, but wondering, where is this going and where am I wanting to go with this, that I actually needed to upskill and help those people that maybe did want to work on the marriage and stay. So I'm not all about encouraging people to get a divorce. It's like if you're going to go through a divorce, then have that support to do it as best as you can. But what have you explored in that territory? So becoming a Gottman trained therapist as well was quite important to me in those early phases. And as much as I probably mostly work in the separation and co-parenting field, there are often times where I will lean on my Gottman, for not only people that maybe are still there trying to make it work, but what if you're repartnering and getting into a new relationship and all the dynamics of that as well. So it's all very vital and important, but I'm very passionate about my ongoing education. I think it's a very sensitive field to work in, and you really do have to, be skilled at what you do because this is people's lives we're talking about. Yeah.
And what does a divorce coach do? Like, give me a plain English description of it?
Yeah, good question. Because that's the thing, it's very hard to explain what we do because we do so much. And so many of us, there's more divorce coaches now in New Zealand, which is why we set up the Institute, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But we all come with different backgrounds and different skill sets, you know. So the majority of what we do is helping clients to regulate their emotions so that they can get that clarity to walk this process and do it effectively, you know, helping them manage conflict, helping them communicate better, whether it's with their partner, with their ex, with their children, with their lawyers. Communication coaching comes into it a lot. And then helping them really get that clarity about what they want from their separation and divorce. You know, it's not only about the assets, but what do you want for your co-parenting relationship if you've got children, you know, like when we divorce our partner with children, we're still in each other's lives. We're not getting rid of them forever. And so how do we reformulate that relationship to a healthy co-parenting relationship? And so, yeah, a lot of that, managing their expectations on what, you know, is involved in a division of property and the division of children. You know, we are sharing custody now, so helping people understand what that looks like and manage their expectations on that, communicating with the children about what's to come, and then helping people, you know, prepare for legal meetings so that they get the most out of their time with their lawyer. They go in really well prepared with what they need and what questions they need to understand for their situation. Everyone's situation is different and it's very personalized to them. So we, you know, help them craft what their ideal outcome is so that they can clearly kind of clarify that with their lawyer. So their lawyer truly understands, you know, what they want from this process as well. So we're hopefully helping them save not only time, but money as well in that process. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like when you say that back, and I have had a bit of experience in this area, for me, a divorce coach kind of shines a light on the path, illuminates what is about to happen or exactly is happening, and is someone that you can talk things through with that is not your lawyer, that because lawyers cost quite a lot of money per sort of 15 minutes, or whatever, or an hour. And it's really, you know, it's one of the hardest times of your lives if this is happening to you. And to have someone that can actually create some transparency around what's happening, what you need to prepare for, space for you to think about what you want, I think it's really invaluable. And I think it's an investment in yourself, really. So I think that work is really, really important. And tell me, like, what is this institute and why was that important for you to set up?
It became quite important for me as the industry started growing in New Zealand. So divorce coaches are very well recognised in the States, which is where I did my initial training 10 years ago. And then as we've had new coaches come into that space in New Zealand, we do come from all sorts of backgrounds. And so some coaches are lawyers, they are mediators, and it's just making sure that there are no blurred lines with the work they're doing. So if you take a client on as a divorce coaching client, then you can't give them legal advice, even if you are a lawyer. As a divorce coach, it's not our job to give legal advice. And then if some of them are mediating clients, then you can't mediate somebody that you've already been working with in the coaching capacity because you're not neutral anymore. You know their story, you know who they are. A mediator needs to be a neutral third party that comes in not knowing either of the parties they're mediating, and they kind of start on that kind of, you know, basic footing. And so we just noticed that there was some blurred lines happening with the practice of coaching in New Zealand, and so we wanted to regulate the industry. So myself and a mediator and a lawyer who are also divorce coaches put the institute together to just give us a bit of guidance around what that looks like. So, you know, lawyers have the Law Society to keep them working within their realm and ethically, and that's what we want to do as an institute so that the public feel that they're in safe hands with any of our ADSI coaches. They know that they're working ethically, working within their means, and they're not crossing any blurred lines.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, that's good to get that straight and get some context set up. Back to you.
Yeah.
I mean, this podcast is all about the motherhood penalty. And I guess I wanted to ask if you think you've paid the motherhood penalty because you're a mum. And I just wonder what's been your experience of working and having a family?
Yeah, look, I definitely paid the motherhood penalty, even within the marriage. Obviously, I'm divorced now, and that's a whole different penalty, right? But I was an older mum. We were together for 13, 14 years before we decided to have children, because I had my own business and it was quite career driven and wanted to kind of build that nest egg to be in a financial position to be able to step back and have children. So for me, having a child made me realize that I can't do it all. I can't run a business, operate within that business, and be a mum and still earn the same kind of money that I had been. So that was hard for me because I'm a doer and I like to be busy. And so, yeah, that was a challenge on its own to kind of not be the main breadwinner, which I was in the relationship, and be a bit more reliant on my husband, but also I wanted to get back to work. So how was I going to have it all? And it's really hard to have it all being a mum, isn't it?
I mean, this is the thing, right? I think we get sold the dream that we can. And I mean, I'm not going to, if people listen to my podcast on a regular basis, you will know that I have all sorts of sayings. And one of them is, we can do anything, but we can't do everything.
Exactly.
And I think, this is, again, it's a comment on the system we work in. It's caregiving is not valued. So I totally understand that and I totally see that. What about the motherhood penalty in your divorce coaching practice? What kind of themes do you see in clients that come to you? If we define the motherhood penalty as a reduction in salary because you are the primary caregiver, reduced retirement savings, KiwiSaver, because you haven't been in as much work as your partner, and reduced confidence to get back out there. Would you see the motherhood penalty in your clients in your divorce coaching practice?
Yes, most definitely. And especially, for the mum who's had the baby and has had to, step out on maternity leave and take a step sideways in their career potentially, and whether even if they're just having the 6 months or a year off, it's still setting them back in their career, I see, because when they do go back to work, they can't work quite at that capacity that they had been expected to work in before children, but the workplace doesn't take that into account, do they? And so then the mum puts that extra pressure on herself to try and do it all and be all. But when there's a divorce involved, it's like if they either have or haven't been back to work, even if they've gone back to work, they haven't gone back to that full capacity generally, unless they've got a nanny or something, right? Like something has to give. And then if they haven't gone back to work, then they've been out of the workforce for a few years potentially, and so they feel like they have lost their confidence and they do feel like they're starting all over again with their not only their expertise and knowledge but with their startup rate as well. Can't go back into earning what they were earning when they stepped out maybe 10 years ago. Yeah, so it definitely plays a part.
And I mean, how often? I mean, if you've got a client who is a parent, if they're a mother, and they come to you, how many mothers do you think are in a situation where the work they have done at home that is unpaid has impacted on the work they could do outside of the home that is paid, and that's restricted their career progress and has implications for how a separation is agreed, I guess. And I mean, how many mothers does this apply to in a broad way?
I'd say the majority, unless you didn't have a big career to start with, but any woman that has had any semblance of a career before children, it is always going to be impacted, like, as I say, unless there is a nanny or an au pair that really does help to step in and help the family, the career does take a back seat. And so it does impact, I'd say, the majority of the clients that I see that are mums. Yeah.
And what advice do you give them? If someone's listening to this and they're like, right, I need to pick my career back up and I'm in the middle of a separation and it feels pretty scary.
Yeah.
What advice do you give them?
Well, look, when they're in the middle of a separation, it's all too scary for them to kind of pick their career back up instantly because they're trying to navigate the separation and potentially, co-parenting children and reformulating what that relationship looks like with their co-parent. So they're in overwhelm and they're in stress. So it takes them a while to kind of start focusing on the career options, right? My ideal client is somebody that comes to me before they separate. It would obviously, if it's not your choice to separate and you've been blindsided by it, there's no time to kind of start doing any prep work for that. But if you're a woman in a marriage or a relationship that you're unhappy with and you think that one day you might leave, start working with a coach now to start working on what you can do to start increasing your earning potential to into the workforce while you've still got that financial support of a partner. Like, we kind of reality check what you can do before making that big decision. And look, sometimes when clients start with me in that capacity, it actually reignites the relationship because there's a more even distribution of not only the wealth but also the support. Because if you go back to work, or whether it's full-time or part-time, generally your partner has to step up and support you in the home front as well, right? So it's kind of finding a different way to work together as a team in the household to support each other with the work and the careers. So if you can do that in those early phases, it might actually change the dynamic of the relationship. And if it doesn't, then we're in a better financial position to leave, right?
Yeah, I mean, as you're saying that out loud, like I remember a post you did last week. I thought it was very, very clever because Kimberlee did this post and she said, we've all heard of family planning, right? But what about planning for a family? As in, when we have kids, how will our family work, honey? Who will do what, right? So this being proactive about stuff is really important.
Yeah, definitely. And part of my Gottman training is that there's bringing the baby home as part of the relationship coaching side of things, and it's not just what does that look like for a relationship when we bring the baby home and have had a baby, but what about before we even have a baby? What is that going to look like for us as a couple financially, with our career paths? How are we going to support each other? So having these discussions before even having a family, I think, is going to lead you to a much healthier relationship that hopefully avoids divorce. Yeah.
There's a video that the New York Times have just done about 3 weeks ago, called The Motherhood Penalty.
Yeah.
And it's there's a whole lot of vignettes of women talking about the impact after becoming a mother. And one of the quotes that stuck with me was a woman who said, financial stability shouldn't have to be a reason why you stay in a marriage. But if you have off-ramped yourself into a role that's not your actual career, but it's nearby the school or something like that, or you've come out of the workforce altogether, you can feel like you've got very limited options in terms of, I imagine, leaving a marriage. And it's something I'm quite passionate about, is that, even if you've got a great relationship, I think that this idea that you've got options, you've got options, and when you have a job and when you have an income, it gives you options. It's a very healthy thing for your relationship.
Absolutely. And that's one of the precursors, isn't it, to avoiding divorce, is like that, those healthy options, having your own individual goals and individual life outside of the relationship, whether it's work or hobbies or volunteer work or what have you. What are you doing to help support your growth? Because if we can continue to still grow within ourselves, we're in a better position to keep a healthy, happy marriage longer. But if for what, and it doesn't even need to be about divorce, right? Like, what if your partner dies? Well, where does that leave you financially or career-wise? Not everyone has life insurance in place for whatever reason. So, I think it's future planning for yourselves together, but what if something happens? What's in place then, right?
Yeah, yep. These are all just conversations, and they're kind of awkward, but we kind of need to have them.
I know lots of people don't like to think about those things, but the reality is this is life, right? And things happen in life, and sometimes we can't control it.
In your experience in New Zealand, how do mothers fare? How do they, what are their outcomes like when it comes to separation and divorce? What does it mean for
Generally,
mums?
yeah, the things that I see when people, do separate and divorce is, generally the men are the bigger earner. So they recoup their losses a lot faster than the woman, right? And especially if you're having to re-enter the workforce or go from working part-time to full-time, you're going to take a lot longer as a female to kind of work back up that career ladder to a wage that is a livable wage in reality, right? Especially in Auckland at this time, but really anywhere in the country. And so, working towards what that looks like and how you get there is really important. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because, when you think about divorce and separation, there are all these like sort of tropes that people roll out. Like, I'm just going to put it out there. She took me to the cleaners. And it's really important that we know that that's actually hardly ever true.
Well, there's laws in place to protect both parties,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. So what you think you might be entitled to and get, the law is there for a reason, and it's to safeguard both parties and make sure it's an even, equitable process. And, as I've said, the men generally have the ability to recoup their losses a lot faster than a woman does because they've already got the big career and the bigger income. And yes, some guys do, take a step back to help with the co-parenting and step in and maybe out of their career and step back into the co-parenting a little bit more than they were in the relationship. But generally, they don't take as huge a hit on their income as a woman does.
And then, yeah, post separation and divorce, thinking about how childcare works and what the impact is on ability to earn income as well, I guess. And I think it's another reason to meet with a few different divorce coaches and get a feel for them, because these people really can illuminate the path ahead and help give you options and advice on what you might want to do.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, with coaching, we're not there to give advice per se, but we can help you think about what you do need to know from a lawyer or a financial planner, it's another expert that we can bring in to help answer some of those questions, to give you the clarity to know what it is you want to do moving forward. And until you've gathered that information and those resources, you can't make a clear decision on what you think is fair and equitable or what you feel you need to move forward, So as a coach, our role is to, if we can't illuminate that path for you, who can we bring in to help illuminate that path? Because if it's financial or business related or what have you, then we might need some outside perspective.
Yeah, and I think the reason, if I was going to summarize the reason why I wanted to get you in to talk, was I think if we want to smash the motherhood penalty, I really want mothers to be fully informed of the law when it comes to separation in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great reason to use a coach, because they can really help you understand the law, because often when people are in these really vulnerable situations, their partners, if they are male, can be telling them stuff that may not necessarily be correct. So it's really good to have someone in your corner. And I really just want mothers to be able to, have a future that is going to work for them, and to be fully informed. We must be fully informed on this stuff.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Absolutely. And that's what I always say to clients. We don't get married thinking we're ever going to get a divorce. So it's not something we know how to navigate. It's all new to us. And so who do we bring in to help us understand the best path and how to move forward with this? Because it's happening to you whether you like it or not, right? So having, that support person and a sounding board to walk you through each step of the way to help you gain a greater understanding of, what's involved and what is fair, what is equitable, what does your lawyer advise is going to work for your situation. All those things help you gain a greater understanding so that you make the best decision for your financial future, because that's basically what it comes down to, right? Yeah.
That's your cat.
Yes. He just fell off the table.
I hope he's okay. He sounds quite like a
He does it
heavy
every
fall.
day.
So if I gave you a magic wand, which you could use to smash the motherhood penalty, the biggest lever you could push, you think that would mean that when you became a mother, you didn't pay a penalty over 10 years of up to 55% of your salary, what would you use that magic wand for?
Personally, this is a personal thing. I would use that magic wand to agree with my husband that while I took the time out to look after the children, I'm in a paid capacity somehow within the relationship, right? So that both parties feel they're equally contributing, whether it's, earned outside of the relationship or not. I think it's just those shared goals and that shared money, that it's not all one person's, because I think that's the mentality, right? Is that I'm the one earning all the money, I'm the one supporting the family, but it's a we, and helping people understand that you've got to work as a team. We are a we, even if only one person's bringing that money in. How are we distributing that evenly throughout the household to make it fair?
I love that magic wand, right? Valuing the work that is performed at home to keep a family operational. Because in breaking news, there's a lot of work that's involved.
A lot.
And
it's most men that step into that role, like women do go back to work, and sometimes the dad stays home for a year or more and steps into that caregiver role, which is amazing. And it's at that point they go, oh my gosh, it's easier to go to work. It's easier to go and do my job outside of the house than do this every day, right? Because it is a lot. It's exhausting. And it's not only physically, but that mental toll as well, that mental load that I know you talk about a lot.
Yeah, it's the mental load, the cognitive load, and the physical load. And I think it's valuing that. And I think it's a really, really great conversation to have at the start of your family, because, if you are parenting alone and you are in a full-time demanding job, you'll probably have to get a nanny. And that's, I don't know how much is that, $60,000 a year out of your post-tax salary. That's quite a lot of money.
Yeah, it's just unattainable for most people, right?
So this work that's being performed at home is actually of value. It's just that we don't value it. So if we can start by having conversations, I think that's a really positive thing to do. So I love that magic wand, Kimberlee. Before I let you go, how could people get hold of you? What's the best way for them to find out more about the Institute and about you?
Thank you. So my company is called Degrees of Separation, and you can Google me and find my website where everything's pretty much there with my packages, prices, and how to contact me. I do offer a free discovery call where we can reach out and we can book a call and discuss what your situation is, and I can let you know how I may be able to help before you decide to engage me or not. I, don't always just work in that divorce capacity as stated. Sometimes it's in that early phases of should I stay or should I go, and we can work in that phase for quite a while. I work individually with my clients, and then the co-parenting side of things as well. So even after divorce, there's still a lot of clients that come back round for that co-parenting coaching and support so that they can find their trainer wheels and excel with the co-parenting, because that can also be a big area of disharmony if you don't get on the same page with that. So that's a summary of what I do and where to find me. With the Institute, it's adsi.org.nz, and you'll find a list of certified coaches there that are around New Zealand. All of our coaches have been certified and trained, but then vetted by us to make sure that their coaching competencies are up to scratch and they're working ethically and within the guidelines that we've provided. So you can rest assured that any of our coaches on our website are going to look after you and you'll be in safe hands. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kimberlee.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. I really wanted to have you on because, as I said, I do think if we're talking about the motherhood penalty, I really want mothers, if they're going through this really hard time in their life, to not pay further penalties, to be fully informed, to have someone by their side, and to not be alone. Because this is hard. This is a really hard time that no one really asks for, right?
Well, no one asks for it. No one wants it. But if you have to go through it, then go through it with that guidance and support, so that you know you've made the best decisions that you possibly can with the information that you've had, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you.
This podcast was funded by Works for Everyone, a business that is dedicated to supporting working parents and to smashing the motherhood penalty. If this is also your jam, let's stay connected. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Just look for us, Works for Everyone. And if you want more information on how we help businesses put a care wrap around their employees, check us out on worksforeveryone.co.nz. Or if none of these work for you, in the weekends you can find me, Emma McLean, the founder of Works for Everyone, in the queue at Pack and Save Royal Oak or Kmart St Luke's. Onwards!